We are honored to have David Breuer-Weill, our guest for today on Lessons for Life. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome. What an honor. It's so good.
Honor for me, Rabbi Tawil.
We've known each other for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And you make such a good impression.
It's very kind
Such
of
a
you.
good impression. And I know that you are so accomplished in so many different facets. And when we speak about an artist today, I want to just go through a little bit about how you've impacted the kind of work that you've done in the past and what speaks to you so that we can give over to our listeners. We have so many different listeners from England, from across the world, especially with the young students and young professionals that are listening today that can gain so much knowledge from you, David. Just take us a little bit back to the time. What made you become an artist? Take us a bit through your background.
Okay, so my father came from Vienna. He was born in Vienna in 1938, and he was a refugee. So he came to England, and he became a jeweler, sculptor, and painter. So I grew up in an artistic house. And in fact, we had a distant relative who was the court painter to Franz Joseph II of Austria, the Kaiser of Vienna. And he was a very frum man, and he used to go to the palace. And actually, the Emperor of Vienna was quite positive about Jews at the time, Franz Joseph, famously.
I think he visited Jerusalem, if it's the same one.
No, that was, I think, the German emperor, if I'm not mistaken. This is the Viennese Franz Joseph. And he provided kosher meals for my mishpacha. He was known to be very frum, but also doing portraits of the king and the family. So that was in the family. So art was always in the family. I grew up with it.
Do you have any of those portraits?
I do. I have a number, actually.
Of
this. His name was David Kohn, and he was a court painter to Franz Joseph. So,
but you have the painting of Franz Joseph?
No, he did portraits of actually rabbis. He did beautiful
wow.
portraits of rabbis.
Any famous ones?
I don't know, actually. Maybe you can identify them. I can show them
We'll
to you.
take a picture and Google it. I don't know.
Absolutely. So definitely art was in the family. I went to St. Martin's School of Art at the age of about 18, 19. And the art world can be quite alienating, especially for, let's say, for young Jewish people who keep their identity. It's a world of fashion and all kinds of things going on. And it very quickly appeared to me, I think Rabbi Tatz has spoken about this too, how a lot of contemporary art or contemporary culture in general can feel devoid of meaning. And it's in a way been my mission to do art, but to create art that has some kind of meaning, some kind of philosophy, some kind of try to understand life and history.
That's a very Jewish point. That's your neshama coming out with the art.
I think that's right, yeah. That's
wow.
right, yeah.
And so when you went to, after you graduated, what was your first point of call? Where did you go? What did you do then?
So I went to St. Martin's School of Art, then I went to Cambridge University. And actually I was studying literature in Cambridge University, and I did my dissertation on actually literature of the Holocaust.
Okay.
So writers like Elie Wiesel, who I met later on, and Primo Levi, who I also met, funny enough, in Yakar, not long before he died. So I did my dissertation on Holocaust literature. How do contemporary writers record what happened and for the future, and how do we deal with that?
Did you have family that were affected by the Holocaust?
Yes, very much so. So from my father's side, a large, I think something like 80 members of the family were lost. So, and it's something I grew up with, a big shadow that I grew up with. Actually, when I was in Cambridge, I had a sense that this tremendously huge thing had happened. I once had a dream that I was sleeping next to a mountain. It was so close to the mountain that I couldn't see it. And I thought, that's our generation. We're right next to this mountain, which is enormous. We don't see it most of the time, but it's there. And how do we understand it? And at that time, I set myself the task of creating a very large series of paintings that recorded our spiritual response to what had happened. And that it took me about 25 years to do that series. It's called The Project, which was shown in different stages in various places in London, like the Roundhouse and various museums and large urban spaces.
Painted by?
By me, yeah.
25
years. And it's a series of about 300 very large-scale paintings.
Wow, 300. You painted 300 paintings?
Yeah, large-scale ones.
Over 25 years?
Over 25 years, yeah. So that's called The Project.
Where did you paint
Well, wherever my studios were or my homes were. Actually, a studio, you could do a very big painting if it has, in a small room, if it has a big wall, basically.
Wow.
So
Where's your best piece of art been painted? There's a question I'm sure you haven't been asked. I don't know. Like, it's interesting to know because you get artists that you need to be outside and you need to be in the right place and the right mood. And
Well, actually, I travel a lot on aeroplanes and trains, and I do a lot of art. You may have seen me, or some people have seen me, because you've got so many hours on an airplane journey that I do very detailed drawings on those, and even some small paintings on those flights. So a lot of my works have been done on flights, and I always put little aeroplane next to it when I'm doing it.
So you actually draw on the. It's not like on the train. It's not fuzzy or difficult or because of the movement, etc. You manage to hold it well.
So it's a kind of training thing. So I actually start every day, you'll be pleased to hear, with Dafyomi. I've been doing it.
Dafyomi, meaning the page of Gemara.
Yeah,
Talmud
I do
every single
every
day.
I've done. I'm on my 4th cycle now. So I started one day. I was in my studio painting a painting, and I felt it has a certain meaning. But then I'm saying to myself, there must be more to it. So I remember the day very clearly. It was in 1998. I got into my car. I drove over to Bridge Lane and started the Dafyomi Shir with Rabbi Weingarten.
The first time, what made you start it?
I was in my studio painting this painting. I thought, I want more than this. And I got in the car.
And you'd heard about Dafyomi.
I had friends who were doing it.
Already smoothened you, massaged you.
I got a friend called Paul Freud who was doing it. So, and I just felt that I wanted, and I set myself a very low bar. I said, if I learn just one word or one thought per day, that's enough. I don't need more. Because it could be quite intimidating, the idea of Dafyomi. But actually, if you set yourself, even if you learn one word a day or one thought or one thing, that's more than not doing it.
Correct.
So anyway, so that was, and in the process, so for example, if I'm traveling, I can do the Daf. Funny enough, one wonderful thing, I do a lot of drawings, but a lot of them are done while I'm doing the Dafyomi. So you can listen and draw at the same time. The good thing about drawing, you can do it while you're doing other things. It's kind of automatic.
That's original because you're multitasking.
You are.
You're thinking about what the Dafyomi is saying, but at the same time, you're thinking about how you want this. Yes, or are you doodling kind of thing?
Well, it is. But I believe doodling is one of the highest forms of expression because your unconscious mind is let loose.
Very nice.
So you can operate unconsciously and consciously at the same time, and that's very classic with drawing and painting. You can do that. So I spoke about art and meaning. So there's no such thing as prophecy, we understand these days. I believe it says in the Gemara something, it exists with animals, with crazy people. I can't remember. There's a third category. So I think artists are a combination of all those things. Through artistic media, you can access a higher reality, and that's where thoughts and ideas and dreams and spiritual thoughts come in. And for me, that's kind of my main emphasis. Now, just to be more precise about that, for example, I was watching the Cohen's Blessing in Shul about 2 years ago, and there are two people in particular, a father and son, who are under a tallis. So you've got these two people standing opposite each other, their heads covered in a tallis. And I'm looking at it, and I think that's the most profound image of human connection I've ever seen. And I made a series of sculptures based on that image.
Oh, wow.
Which has never been done before. But to non-Jewish people who see, and they're exhibited like broadly in public places, these things, to non-Jewish people who see them, they don't know exactly what a Jew would know what it is, but this idea of two people connected, like a father and son, under this tallis, it's a very powerful image. So you can do these quite meaningful things, and that's my focus. Another example is the image of blessing. You know, you're blessing your child on Friday night, so you have a parent with their hands on the head of the child. That's a very universal thing which applies to all people, whether you're Jewish, not religious, not, this idea of connection between generations. And that's another example of how you could bring something of great power and meaning into the artistic fold. And that's something new.
When you say new, I'm surprised that it is new.
Yeah.
Meaning, what? Everybody's been sleeping up to now. They haven't thought about doing such things.
Look, there may be examples of that, but it's to make a whole system. So a whole system of thought. So
Excellent.
What I have is I keep little notebooks with me wherever I go like this. And ideas just, the more you do it, the more it happens. An Einfall, like a thought.
Yeah.
I believe that
That means it drops in.
it drops in. So I really,
Yiddish.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I genuinely believe that you can create a channel to higher worlds by doing that. So for me, art is a holy thing, in other words, because you're connecting with God. You're opening yourself up to inspirations from above. And that really works. I mean, the more you do it, the more it happens.
Okay, so where do you find your initial inspiration from? Speak to the guys out there. Like,
Yeah.
they come to me and say, Rabbi, need to get motivated. Is there a way to motivate the unmotivated?
In artistic terms.
In artistic terms, yeah.
Well, look, if there's no pressure. I mean, if it's not in you, it's not in you. Everybody has their own method. So for most artists, it's about drawing what they see on the outside. You know, you see a portrait, you do a portrait. I've taken the exact opposite approach. I try to draw what's on the inside. Yeah, and that's it's a different kind of thing. But to motivate other people, I think it has to come from within. But like everything, the more you do it, the more practice.
And
more practice.
Are you making more paintings or sculptures, or it's the same?
So I do a lot of painting, drawing, and sculpture. So with sculpture, I've got a lot of public pieces. So in England, for example, I normally work in bronze. So there's a piece in Park Lane now, which is of 2 large feet embedded in the ground, which I call Visitor, and another one like that called Alien.
Okay.
And then there's one called Reflection in Soho in London, and in Canary Wharf and Portman Square. So the feet, that relates to a series where, well, my grandfather came with my father to London from Vienna, and when he arrived, he was called an alien,
right.
You know, an enemy alien.
Yeah,
probably heard about that.
Yes.
So was always
he spoke German. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that was always on my mind. So I have this idea that we as immigrants, let's say, to England, we're always sort of displaced, coming and going. So I have all these images of people visiting. So the feet is almost as if it's like my grandfather or any arrival crash landed into this new home, and all you see is the feet. So, wow. But there's a certain comic element to it too.
It's very deep.
Yeah, yeah. So,
because if I would walk past it, there's his feet.
Yeah.
I don't have that imagination. It's good that you're bringing it out so that we can describe. Yeah, you know, it's a very powerful what you're saying. You just landed basically, and it's all the implications.
Yeah, and so with the sculptures, with my sculptures, you normally see only part of the figure. So your feet, you only see the feet. Your imagination imagines the rest underground, or you see the top of the head, and the rest is under the ground.
And you create these at home and then bring them, or how does it work?
Normally the big sculptures I make in foundries, in bronze foundries. Because,
what does that mean to us?
Oh, so a bronze foundry is where you make an original in plaster or clay, and then it's cast into bronze as a more permanent material.
It has to be a certain dimension, and you tell them make it larger, or how does it work?
Well, so what I usually do is I'll make a maquette in small clay, and then it's enlarged by measurements. But just for the core in polystyrene, I then cover the whole thing in plaster to work on the whole surface, and that's then cast into bronze.
And you're doing this in your studio?
No, the bronze casting is at the foundries. So all the small models and paintings and drawings are.
So first you draw it, then you model it, and then you give it to the bronze.
Correct.
And then they deliver it, and you tell them where you would like, or how's it? The government says, "Oh, we've got this place available." How does that work?
It's quite a lot of bureaucracy, but it requires a lot of planning, permission, and first of all, the committee to accept it.
They come to you, or you go to them?
Now they come to me, really, but for public placements in town. And the amazing thing about those is a lot of people see them. They may not even know that you're the artist.
Right.
They just see the images because they're in public places where thousands of people are going by every day. So.
They have these designated places. So that place now has got those feet, but in 6 months' time,
it depends. Some of them are permanent. So the one in Soho in Dean Street is a permanent bronze. Some of them are temporary. And actually, I've done quite a few pieces in Jerusalem.
How does it feel, by the way, to have it permanent there?
Well, it's quite amazing, but it's
amazing. You've got something permanent that you've created, and it's in front of the world. It's fantastic.
Yes, but until there's a war and they need to melt down the bronze. Yeah.
Wow, you're really positive. I like this.
No, but
remind me of I had a student. He came to me one day. He says, "Rabbi, I had thieves that came to my house. He put his house for sale, so they came to his house." there was nobody in it. So I said, okay, Baruch Hashem, you didn't lose anything. He said, no, Rabbi, you don't understand. This is, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. They ripped open the carpet. They took all the pipe work,
Oh,
a couple of pipe work, they sold all the I don't have any water in there. Don't have any pipes. They came, that's what they went to get.
Well, funny enough, I've got this piece in Jerusalem, just outside Migdal David. You may have seen it. It's called Jerusalem Center of the World. It's a globe made of polished steel, quite a large one. And that's a Jerusalem Foundation commission. And, well, the reason I mention it now is because the sign, which was made out of bronze, was stolen. Somebody stole the sign for the metal.
All right.
So we had to tell
the
the
steel
Jerusalem. The steel is still there. I think it was too big. To pull off. And it's called Jerusalem Center of the World. And with tour guides, they like to take things literally in places like Jerusalem, obviously. So now it's on the tour map as being literally the center of the world.
Wow.
So people have photographed it. And a lot of people, what's nice is a lot of people get engaged under that piece because it's sort of a canopy that you can walk into.
Fixed.
It's fixed.
Does it say your name there?
Yes,
Good.
It does. No, it's just outside the Tower of David, you know, where in Teddy Kollek Park.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
That's incredible. How did you get involved over there? They came to
it was
you?
it was a commission of Jerusalem Foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, because you've got probably other artists, and so how is there like a where everybody
was kind of
contests towards it? And
yes, it was a competition because it was made in memory of a man called Eran Laor, who was the biggest collector of antique maps of Israel.
Oh, wow.
And his widow commissioned it with the Jerusalem Foundation. And it's based on the map of Israel, an old map of Israel. So it's a kind of... And then we had to like provide various designs, different
How long
artists.
did it take you to do that?
From beginning to end, about 5 years. It's been installed for about 12 years there now.
Wow.
But then after that, and this is an interesting thing in terms of how something like learning Gemara can influence contemporary art, which you don't hear so often, but it's very true. There's a piece in Shaarei Tzedek Hospital called Soul, which is a large image of a human being who is a whole globe. So the globe is the human being, and the human being is the globe. Why is that at Shaarei Tzedek, which is a hospital? Because, as you know, it says in the Gemara that if you save one life,
like
you save the whole world. And that's what that piece is, and it's at a hospital. So that's an example of how you can try and do something that has some meaning and some depth in the text. It's a very simple thought. You save the world, you save a person, you save the world. So you make a sculpture that is simultaneously a person and a world.
So you have quite a few sculptures in Jerusalem. And
well, those are the
around
two. Those are the two main ones. Yes.
Wow.
Those are public. Those are public pieces.
If I were you, I would feel very fulfilled to have these foundations in Jerusalem.
No, yes, yeah.
As well as what you have over here. It's really, really fantastic. So take us through now with the Holocaust. You mentioned that's been quite a big part of your life. And it's interesting because what I do as a rabbi and why I set up TAL is actually to bridge the gap.
Yes.
When you talk about the mountain,
yes,
I see the previous generation. We call it in Hebrew the Shiarei Knesset HaGedolah.
Right.
Used to be the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah.
Yes.
These great rabbis and great personalities and great people of the previous generation that had to unfortunately go through a Holocaust and go through displacement. And for example, my grandparents, etc., from Arab lands, they were kicked out. They went through famine and difficult moments and donkeys and everything else to get to where they are, and they had to rebuild everything from scratch.
Yeah.
But they have so much life experience to go and to give over because the world's completely changed. There's been a massive transformation. Like for 2,000 years, the world was static, okay?
Yeah.
There was the Industrial Revolution, whatever, but generally people were in the same lands for 2,000 years. Past 100 years, there's been wars, there's been famines, there's been crazy things. And these people have got a lot to give to the next generation. And when I say these people, I mean not only yourself, but the older generation. So that's been my life mission, to bring that over and to give that over. So when I hear that you're doing something about the Holocaust, which is getting further and further away in inverted commas, and people unfortunately nowadays are coming up with all these theories, and it means much more to have something sturdy to give over.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. That's absolutely right. I mean, I must say this project that took 25 years of these paintings, they're partly about the Holocaust, but I wouldn't say they're in any way illustrative of it. What it is our spiritual reaction to that, or rather my spiritual...
What's our spiritual reaction to the Holocaust?
Well, trying to come to terms with what it means and
Because
what
a lot of
yeah.
the people that went through it
Yeah.
haven't spoken for years because they were so traumatized.
Yes.
They don't want to, but actually quite a few are now more and more coming towards, they want to pass it on. But I've noticed a lot didn't. We've actually had great Holocaust survivor on the podcast who you might know, and she's an incredible orator. She comes and she tells everybody about her story. But there's not so many people like to be quiet because they're like, I went through that, leave me alone kind of thing. It was too traumatizing to actually describe.
Yes, I think it takes time. I mean, some people were quiet to begin with and then opened up. And I think it was like that. It's kind of in the 80s and 90s that really everybody opened up about it, I think, a bit more. But certainly in my work, if I say, often what can be about the Holocaust is actually the opposite. It's your celebration of life and wanting to continue, the tradition, Jewish tradition. In other words, it can be quite a positive reaction too, that you build. It's a question of building and moving on. I mean, I think the last 2 years have been very traumatic for the whole Jewish community worldwide because we can see the kind of mad group thinking that could make that happen. And that's something I have dealt with a lot in my work since October the 7th, that some of the things that happened are not completely in the past. Some of the tendencies, let's say. I'm not comparing the eras, but that kind of, contagious global madness is still there.
Right.
But I have a wonderful thought about it, that when will people realize that they fail every time when they attack Jewish people? It's not very.
Only they fail, but they won't exist themselves.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of a stupid strategy because it's never worked before. It's never worked. No. So in a sense, we've got so much to give to the world because we don't dwell too much. I mean, any time we think about those things in the past, certainly with what you do, it's all about reconstruction and growth and building. And so you can have those thoughts about the past, but it's actually a prompt to do great things in the future. And that's the difference. We don't dwell on it in a sort of negative way.
100%.
We grow.
You told me once about some great artifacts that you have from many, many years ago, from the time of the temple in Israel. Take us through what's your best piece that you hold with your own hands. I don't know if you brought anything to show, but something that you've actually touched from the past that's meant a lot to you, or you might still have it or not.
Sure. So during the first Jewish war against Rome, which was from 66 to 70 CE,
okay.
The temple was destroyed in the year 70. In the 5 years before the temple was destroyed, the Jewish rebels made shekels in silver.
Wow.
There's about 1,500 still surviving, give or take. Okay. And I've got a number of those. Okay. And they were actually struck in the temple in the last 5 years of its existence. Shekels and half shekels.
What does it say on it?
On one side it says Yerushalayim Kedusha, and on the other...
In which writing? So
in Paleo-Hebrew.
So it's the same Yud as now, or it's different?
It's different. It's the original Paleo-Hebrew, not the Ashuris, which is later. But actually at the time, it was already... Even at the time of the Jewish war, that they did it on purpose. It's like you use Old English to show your tradition. Right.
So Yerushalayim Kedusha.
And then it says Shekel Yisrael on the other side.
Wow.
And they were struck in the temple.
Any image on
yes,
there?
On one side is what's thought to be the staff of the Kohen Gadol with 3 pomegranates. And on the other side is the Omer cup for the Omer offering.
The Omer offering.
Yeah. Okay. I can show you. So they're shekels and half shekels. Quite
and
an
that was
exciting
used
thing.
Obviously in Jerusalem at the time of the rebellion.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's probably the most cherished thing that you have from that era.
It's not the rarest, but what's wonderful is it's made from in the temple just before the destruction.
Wow.
And it's a mainstream thing. I mean, it's very well documented and acknowledged by all the archaeologists and things. So. It's not fantasy, in other words, because sometimes these things can be fantasy.
Well, it's written, it's not fantasy. Does it look old, or has it been polished?
Because the war was quite short. Rome conquered Israel. Yeah. It was the war lasted about 3-4 years. So, and then Bar Kokhba, that was the second war, about 60 years later. I've got a lot of coins of Bar Kokhba too.
What does it say on those coins?
Different things. It says Shimon, which is Shimon Bar Kokhba. and then it can say Shema, which is an abbreviation of Shimon, but they think it may have been Shema as in Shema Yisrael, and Legulat Yisrael.
Wow. Did it have that same writing?
Same writing. And there's a lot of these things. I mean, the archaeological evidence of these things from Israel is enormous. There's an enormous amount of it. So it's something that people don't realize.
It's clear.
Yeah, very much so.
How can you convince others that it's clear? When you could
Well,
just say, maybe you're just saying it's enormous.
No, there are hundreds or thousands of these things in all museums, documented things. Yeah.
Okay. And from before that era, do you have anything? What's your
Yes.
oldest thing that you have?
Well, I've got
you've
very,
seen.
very old thing. I got some pottery and other objects from really earlier, from time of before Avraham Avinu,
Before
parallel, and Egyptian things. And
What's the most fascinating thing that you've come across, not necessarily to do with Jerusalem, but in all your life experience, artifact, or you might have seen in a different museum, different place, something that resonates with you, and like when you saw it, you actually took a few seconds and said, wow, this is history.
Well, there's many things. I mean, in terms of, I was in an art fair in Holland a few years ago, and they had a huge oil lamp with many, many containers, because obviously we didn't use electricity, it was oil lamps. And that was something created by Herod. There's another one from one of his palaces found in Jericho. So I found that in an art fair in Holland. That was quite an amazing thing, a very large oil lamp from the time of Herod the Great.
And who holds that nowadays?
Me.
You?
I got it, yeah.
Do you light it or not?
No, I don't know.
I enjoy history. Obviously, you love history. You've got these pieces of art now that are around. Going forwards, what's the mission going forwards? Where are you going to go over the next? What's your aim in the next 5-10 years, if any, to continue obviously the great work that you're doing? Do you have any new projects in sight or anything that you'd like to focus on?
Yeah, I'm working on a number of different projects at the moment, and also writing a journal of what's behind all of this, the spiritual ideas behind it, what it means, what it means to produce art on a daily basis, where that's coming from, because it's also a very psychological thing, that sort of thing. So I'm writing this journal. I've got a lot of projects, one of which is a memorial to October the 7th.
Would you like to do that?
That is under discussion now. It'll be announced at some point. I did a painting based on October the 7th, in that October, actually, immediately afterwards,
Right.
which I deliberately made the same size as Picasso did a painting called Guernica,
Okay.
which you probably know about it. So it's a very large painting, which was about how the Nazis bombed Guernica in 1937. And I deliberately made a painting the same scale about October the 7th, where you have hundreds of worlds, as it were, because each person lost is a whole world, coming back to that theme. And that will be installed at some point. And then I'm working on a very large sculpture which will go near Selfridges in London, just opposite Selfridges. So,
in your view, who do you cherish the most when it comes to art? You mentioned Picasso before.
yeah.
Who do you cherish the most, and who do you want in your possession, kind of thing? What are you seeking? When you look, wow, this guy is like, who do you appreciate the most?
Well, I
Also
think
for value, obviously.
I've learned a great deal from many, many, many artists. There's a lot of wisdom there, which comes from Hashem, a lot of wisdom, quite amazing. My favorite artist is actually a musician, and that's Mozart, who I think really sings to us directly from the highest worlds, in my view. But in terms of visual artists, I think the greatest draftsman, the greatest, he didn't do many paintings, but is Leonardo da Vinci. He's the greatest draftsman.
Why?
Just the quality of his line is incomparable. I don't think there's anybody really close to that. In terms of the ambition and scale of the project, it's got to be really Michelangelo. These Italians had something going at that time.
Going a lot.
Yeah. I think the other great golden age of art was from around 1870 to 1920, where you have, of course, Monet, Pissarro, Van Gogh, Gauguin, Cézanne, Picasso, Braque, all of Matisse, all these amazing artists, and of course Chagall, during quite a short period. And that was a real... So you do tend to get these golden ages of art.
Wow. And now? Are we in any golden age?
Well, very often it's hard to tell at the time. It's retrospective that people determine what is or isn't. For example, Vermeer is one of the all-time greats, and he was not really recognized until 200 years later. So we don't really always know, but yes, I think it's a very, very interesting time for art now. I think AI will probably impact it. It will make painting, drawing, and sculpture either more or less important. I'm not sure which, as a human tool. Probably as a spiritual tool, it becomes more important when there's so much out there that's not real or that's fake.
And just on a final point to our listeners, you had so much experience being a religious Jew in this environment. Just take us through a bit of your experiences, and should a person be worried? Should a person be frightened when they're going out there into the real world, as they call it, as a Jew? How should we react? Should we be proud about our Judaism? What's life taught you?
There's big challenges now. I think in the arts and cultural worlds, it's a pretty awful time to be Jewish. And you can react in different ways. I've had like projects cancelled and stuff like that recently. Definitely as a minority, the one minority that's not accepted is the Jewish minority compared to other minorities.
You're feeling that?
There's no question about it. I mean, I'm not the first to say it. David Breuer-Weill wrote a book saying Jews don't count.
Right.
Very good book. But actually, he didn't go far enough. It's not that Jews don't count amongst, as a valid minority. It's that not only do they not count, they're the enemy in many cases. So that's
really not. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very problematic. On the other hand, I think great art and also great midas, if you can say, great character, comes from fighting against the mainstream. We've always done that as Jews. So the fact that you're not popular as a group at this time can give you strength also. That sometimes it gives you power to know that you have to fight for something. And it's not easy, but it gives you more power.
Definitely. When the Jews sinned in the Midbar, in the desert, so Moshe Rabbeinu stood up to defend the Jewish people. Now, you'd expect him to come up as a good Jewish lawyer to come and defend them.
Yeah.
You know what he says to God? He says, God, please forgive these people because they are a stiff-necked nation.
Yes, yeah.
Am keshe oref. And all the rabbis are perplexed. Why are you calling them a stiff-necked people? Meaning they're stubborn people. That's not a reason to defend them. That's a reason to attack them.
Yeah.
They're so stubborn. They're sinning. They're not listening to me.
Yeah.
What was Moshe telling them? Moshe was telling them the following. Moshe was saying, listen, Hashem, these are your people, and they're going to stand with you no matter what.
Right, exactly.
No matter what, things are going to get difficult in the future. And yes, they're sinning now, but they're going to come back. They're going to come back, and they're going to be strong. So no matter what people are throwing at the Jewish nation is always going to be there. They're always going to continue to be, in society, and to be bringing the light as much as they can, no matter how much darkness is chucked at them. We are Am Keshe Ora. We're stiff-necked nation.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's true in art too. Some of the best art comes again when you're fighting against opposition. Like, think of somebody like Van Gogh, who had such a tough time and produced this glowing spiritual art. So it's the same in art as actually in the way in what you're saying. Sometimes it's the fight that makes what you're doing worthwhile.
Amazing. So, David, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on Lessons for Life. Such an interesting conversation we've had today. Wishing you a lot of success ahead.
Thank you.